Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko tae mai tēnei tu āhuatanga. Ki tēnei whakatūranga hiko miki. Welcome to my 8003.2b Tukuna Kete learning strategy. And just an apology because I believe that I was meant to send it in with a presentation. All I sent in obviously was just me doing the narrative, and there was no presentation of such. But the hope is that that's been rectified with this presentation. Ka pai tēnā. So a starting point, and it has been my starting point since the beginning of doing the this particular paper. I've used the three baskets of knowledge, and I make sort of a stance on that. Nā kete o te Wānanga, that teaching pedagogy. I believe everything that we're doing at the moment with this particular paper heads back to that whole philosophy around the three kete of knowledge, the two kete that you can use, and the one that really doesn't really be utilized, but it's still there. So I've got that there. I make, with the understanding of the pedagogy, I have an understanding, like my learners, that learning isn't always straightforward, and at times you have to make decisions. And obviously I've put in paki waitara and uarātanga, and that's really talking about what my strategy looks like. The tangata whenua without a doubt, identifies, and it does identify te reo Māori, or the language, or te reo Māori, the Māori language, or the use of, and tuakiritanga, which is identity. The key learning communities, enhancing and supporting your learning strategy, and that definitely comes through, even though I like to still acknowledge my particular group in the 8003 strategies. Our group work, I've found, has been superb, and I just want to sort of not acknowledge that of my the other participants, my other colleagues. That's been very good, and obviously I'm going to be using that, and you'll see that with me going forward. The Tiritia Waitangi obviously talks about the partnership, and I make reference to tātai as well, because we look at that partnership as well between, I suppose, I'd say the Crown and Māori, and in this instance I'm going to say Māori and the Ministry of Education. So that connection there, societal and bracket cultural context, I'm saying for me and me looking at that, whānau hapu and iwi, interacting, that whole engagement between those particular groups. But in this context, it'll be looked at more of the student, the classroom, and the school, that kind of thing. Otherwise, you could say the student, the school, and the community. So that's that whole societal connection that one has there. The social justice, wealth, opportunities, privilege, treatment, and treatment without prejudice. And that's, I thought about that, and I thought, well, sometimes it's I know within the social justice too, they talk about education. Hey, what education are we talking? Hey, there's mātou ranga Māori versus education or mainstream. So there's the social justice. I do understand what they're talking about, that equality for obviously in this space that we're talking about. the equality within the learning design, or sorry, within the learning strategy, and focus Māori as well, but not limited to, and the student well-being. And I did make the point of just say not for Māori. So I'm going to start here around the description. Like I says, I'm using Paki Waitara, or I have used Paki Waitara, and that's my medium, or the how, and that's my strategy, to give the learners an understanding of values and ownership. Bracket tātai ako. The strategy has been refined by the key learning communities, and in this case, Kāwai Limited, with their knowledge and understanding of social justice, and that's the equality. So by adding a value-based pedagogy from Te Ao Māori that reflects pono, tika, and aroha, and I'm going to get into that, and that's slash, and I've left Kāwai Limited there. This strategy has added to the current strategy to enhance the understanding and awareness. So the current strategy I had in place, and it talks about it as we're going forward. I'm just going to give a quick snapshot here. Really talks about a kaupapa driven strategy within your classroom. Now, in the beginning, people called it rules. I came back and called it kaupapa instead. So there's ownership in kaupapa. So when I'm talking about using pono, tika, and aroha, I'm quickly going to break that down, and I do make mention of that in my written. It talks about integrity. It talks about reality. And it talks about the truth. That's your pono. The tika talks about right and correct, and the aroha talks about compassion, joy, and love. But when you're using this particular strategy, you've always got to start from the pono. It has to be in that reality space, otherwise it doesn't work. And I make mention of that because of the fact that if you start from a place of aroha, when you're thinking about and you're making decisions, making on the, and we're in the how position as well, and the how things are done here now was like, if you make it from the aroha side of things, and I'll explain this to my learners, the aroha runs out. There's a point in time when it runs out. However, when you're making decisions, and good decisions, from a pono part of the area, then you're keeping yourself safe. And and to me, that's what it was all about as well, the well-being and the safety of my learners. But I'll expand on those three oratanga or values as we go a little bit further into it. The learning, still on the learning strategy, and the analysis. I need to improve the understanding of what a kaupapa-driven environment would be like, especially making decisions, learning about ownership, which is your mana motuhake, and how not to diminish or whakaiti themselves or each other when you're making decisions. How you hold your, and it's a little bit deeper. It's a little bit deeper how you hold your tapu and your mana, and you're not actually giving them away. What I mean by that is around decision making. So making good decisions, and those three particular values explained through Paki Waitara or pūrākau or storytelling. When you explain that through those particular mediums, they can start connecting around, I suppose, what's right and wrong, or they can start having a look about what's really being told to them, what your learners are really getting told through those particular elements of learning, through mātauranga Māori, te ao Māori, that kind of thing. So that's what those ones are all about there. Before the new learning strategy, only a few learners would take responsibilities for their actions in the classroom, school, or the wider community. So as much as my strategy in the beginning was kaupapa based, and it was about ownership, and still is, I wanted to expand that. So that's what's really happening now, is I'm refining the actual learning strategy obviously using Māori pedagogy. So, and that's what our paper's all about at the moment. So that's happening. That's those kind of things that I'm bringing in. At the same time, there would be those that don't have an understanding about it, and it would take extra time. And I would make sure that it would take, in my analysis, to make sure that they were safe and they understood why I was doing this. I would see that having my learners whānau, and I think this is a key, having your learners whānau, your caregivers involved in the whole journey, the whole medium of this particular strategy. That just really strengthens that, because when they're living and breathing that kind of a strategy, ownership takes hold in the house as well. Ownership takes hold with their loved ones as well. So it's a real win-win situation. Of course, I've made mention about, obviously not just with Kāwai Limited, but with Tātai Ako, the Hiketia program, the Kotahitanga program, that always talks about the inclusive of having the whānau involved, and this is my analysis on that part of the strategy now. The learning strategy, the evaluation, I make mention that it would cover everything, and would cover everything, and should cover everything identified by Tātai Ako under tangata whenua and more. It would create a culture within the Māori culture, living by Māori values and tikanga, or the way that things are done, common sense, but not just for Māori, but for other communities. And I do make mention here, especially the youth, that they have an understanding of those particular value-based ownership strategies involved in their learning. And obviously, we're talking about it, this space in the evaluation. Hey, it would just start in the classroom environment. That's from, and I talked about the beginning of whānau, hapu, and iwi on that scale, and societal under that umbrella as well. So that's actually expanding out. Not only that, the education side of things through the social justice, the equality of things as well. That once you've got that kind of value-based understanding of process about making good decisions, then that sort of keeps us safe. That keeps everyone safe in that kind of an ownership bubble. So yeah, it would work, and I make mention that it would work because I've seen it work with other adults in the wider community in the past, using this particular strategies under decision making with pono, tika, and aroha. And the only thing I'd seen in the evaluation for me was, if you didn't want to follow the process properly, it wouldn't work for either a young person or an adult. If they came right away and they were justifying their actions or their decision making and things like that, that started to come, and then you would know. Then you would know that they weren't following those particular values or such from the learning strategy. They weren't being pono with themselves. So if you weren't pono with yourself, then that diminishment would come in. So you would know straight away. In conclusion, I do make mention about that the pono, tika, and aroha is a part of a bigger process of the dynamics of whanaungatanga, which is the program, that there's seven or eight different modules of part in that journey. I've only concentrated on this one. The Kāwai facilitators are still delivering the dynamics of whanaungatanga throughout the different communities in New Zealand, and that all 8 Indigenous pedagogies given to me in the summer intensive also played a part in this learning strategy identified in the Tātai Ako summary. Nō reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora mai tātou.